Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let.
Oh baby, we're back, and we're back once again. Welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave. Today's a very potentially special day because I might even be getting the rest of my equipment today. Just got the call from UPS that they are going to be coming a little bit later. So unfortunately, no new stuff today for me, but we actually do have a new look at the Krown trading application, which the second rendition is now out. Of course, there are still plenty more upgrades along the way. We are fielding so many suggestions for it, and it's just making this thing better and better by the fucking hour. This is incredible, and I can't wait to show you even just what we've added thus far. Multiple new features on it, and Jesus Christ, man, just want to say massive thanks to the beta testers for it. By the way, we will be adding another 10 to 15 beta testers later this week, and as well around the 10th or to 15th of this current month, we'll be onboarding the people in the technical analysis program, the options program, or the Jewel program. So if you do have access to any one of those programs, you'll be getting an invite to this platform to kind of get situated on there, and that's all well and good. Very excited about that. Again, we won't be opening it up for public use until likely at the end of the month, perhaps first week of December, somewhere around there is where we're thinking. And I do want to also address some of the questions that I've been getting as well with regards to the Jewel. The Jewel is actually not available at all right now whatsoever. Well, I mean, technically, if you go onto the Teachable link, it will show it will be there, but it'll be for a price of like $100,000. So don't buy that is what I want to say. It's not a mistake. We just quite literally don't want anyone to buy it on there. And we're going to be really focusing on kind of switching everything onwards and over into the app. By the way, for the people in the Jewel, there's been a lot of requests for a chat separated from the general Discord community for just people who are for people who have invested in the Jewel. I understand that this is likely because people don't want to feel like they're kind of giving out the signals from it to people who have not invested in it, which, fair enough. I understand I contribute a little bit to that by showing it on these streams. But overall, I think that is a warranted request, and we'll be working on that as well. But unfortunately, it's really not going to be, I'll start it actually this week. I'll start the channel this week. It's going to be a long process for me to add people into it because I have to do it manually, and I'm still, getting set up here. But it is on the list of things to do. And more importantly, once the app comes out, all of that stuff will be automated. So it'll be no longer an issue. And I really look forward to that because I think it would add a lot of value, as there's definitely a lot of questions with it. And well, just like the options program or the technical analysis program, people want to get together who actually have access to it, discuss it from a more educated point of view as the people who actually have it. What else do we want to talk about before we get into this bitch? Oh yeah, you'll notice on this video, or you might notice on this video, that there is a new link to a new exchange. I've been getting a lot of people have been reaching out to me asking what exchange am I testing right now, and I want to first and foremost say that while I do have a new link to the exchange FTX, it's a referral link in the description of this video, which I believe will benefit you by shaving some off of your trading fees. I am not endorsing this exchange right now. I still want to test it for a little bit of time, but I figure, if people really want to, get into it, and everyone's kind of like, looking for the next best thing, that's the one that that's the one that I'm testing at the current moment in time. They do have features on there. So far, my experience has been more or less okay. I think that they could definitely use some design changes. There's some things that I actually really don't like about it. The liquidity on it is, it's not great. It's not terrible. I mean, it's kind of like just regular cryptocurrency, just regular, just what you can expect for par for the course. But so far, it's got the job done, and it does have features on it. And I believe after speaking with one of their representatives that they do plan at some point in time to add options. Not only that, what I also like about them is that they do have these like ETFs for shitcoins and just general coins in general. That's fucking redundant. But you'll notice that they have something called like a shit perp or a mid perp or an alt perp, and basically just makes a basket of shitcoins or whatever it might be, and you can trade that instead of like trading, just like any old random shitcoin here and there. So the liquidity is going to be a little bit better, and also you're going to be kind of in some way protected against, one of those outlier moves that could go against you. So if you feel like you have a stronghold on the altcoin market, but you don't necessarily want to trade a singular alt, that would probably be the, I'd imagine that that's probably the better way to do things. I probably won't be trading those myself. I really just dislike trading those sorts of things, because again, liquidity is it's still not going to be as good as Bitcoin, and even Bitcoin on the exchange is, it's not like the best liquidity. You could probably get filled on like maybe up to 50 Bitcoins at any given moment in time, which is okay, but realistically, we do want to make sure that at the end of the day, liquidity is one of those things. It's like a roll of toilet paper. When you need it most, you better hope it's there. Unfortunately, a lot of the time you find that the roll has already been played out. And I should also address one of the things as well. It does look like they actually have a lawsuit against them filed by Binance, nonetheless, in the state of California, which is very bizarre to me. There's two stipulations on it. One I think is legitimate. The other one I think is illegitimate. The first legitimate one is that they are offering unlicensed securities on their platform, which now they have to deal with the long and hard and very impressive red dildo of the SEC, as they're going to fall under their jurisdiction. Now, the other one is a claim by Binance that they are manipulating the market by doing BART patterns, which is just a bunch of bullshit. CZ, how dare you? You know exactly what you're doing with this. I don't know if it's like CZ actually doing it himself, but it's obvious. It's a clear case of competitor just wanting to fuck with another competitor. I don't think that they have any case on that front. But as far as offering securities to U.S. citizens, well, hard to get around that one. So good luck with that. You're gonna get probably not gonna end too well. But I'd imagine that they probably just put more measures in place for more KYC, and that's really the way that I think most of these exchanges are going to be going. The days of exchanges having little to no KYC and offering like these insane amounts of leverage is numbered. I think that's kind of the next evolution, the next maturing phase of this market, and I do think that happens over the next few years, slowly but surely, but kind of moving towards there, which I do think is good, because it does show that the market is maturing. It's big enough now to where big regulatory agencies like the SEC, like the CFTC, like FINRA are going to be looking at something like this and saying, okay, well, it kind of matters now, so we should do our due diligence with it. Anyways, with all that said, let's get into the app scene right here and show the new kind of UI, what's going on right now. Now, the main page not looking all that different. You will see that it's actually mostly the same. However, on the left-hand side, we've added multiple tabs. We have alerts down here, which has been highly asked for, especially for people who are on TradingView, because I know that TradingView only allows you to set alerts that go to your phone if you're like paying for one of the higher tiers. So I know that that's going to be unreasonable for most people. I would imagine that most people who aren't, like full-time trading probably don't want to pay for like whatever their highest tier is like per year. It's like either $500 or $1,000 per year. But so we'll be having that. So I think that will be a highly sought after thing. We also have chat function added, which is going to link you directly to Discord. So you'll be integrated into the community just even easier. Broadcast is where my videos will be. So you'll be able to watch it actually through the app. And also we're likely going to partner with a few other like news channels for cryptocurrency that I like. So I'll be reaching out to those channels relatively soon, and we want to make it like a one-stop shop, and also I want to kind of curate it so that it's people that I would actually watch myself, is what I'm kind of getting at. Of course, trading function is going to be is going to be coming a little bit later, but yes, you will actually be able to trade from this. Other than that, it's mostly the stuff that you've already seen. Portfolio function right here. You'll be able to put in all your stuff. This is not my portfolio, by the way. In case you're wondering, you can put in whatever numbers that you do want. Then we'll have the news function right here. So right now we just kind of have a feed to Cointelegraph's videos and whatnot. See all the altcoin market right here, Bitcoin, and then also my programs are going to have a link right here. So with all of that said, let's actually look at what it's saying right now. We do see a little bit over $1 billion in open interest, which does suggest that, again, we did see a pretty good move last night. In fact, the move that we were kind of looking for, let me just raise this desk up. This fucking standing desk is amazing, by the way. and still kind of hanging this high does tell me that people are mostly holding these positions. No one really, took profit off that. And while we are still ranging on the lower time frames, which we'll get into in just a second, even daily volume is already like double what we saw yesterday at the same moment in time. So that is significant to myself, and I do think that we are gearing up for that move, or likely another move. So we did get the move yesterday that I was speaking about. That was likely to happen once traditional markets had their open. Now I think that this actually suggests that we sustain this move, and we actually get another one probably in the next trading session as well. Fear and greed index is ticking out at 54, pretty much flat within this region. Actually, I do think it would be worthwhile to have a chart function for that. These guys up here are going to be scrolling, of course. And as far as total market cap goes and altcoin market cap, we actually did see the altcoin market cap gain about 1 billion in value, so it's up about 1.25%. That is significant. Bitcoin market cap pretty much flat. So the altcoin market cap is, the total market cap is pretty much flat, which says that Bitcoin, more or less flat. Altcoins having a little bit of a party last night, so I'm gonna imagine that when we go and look into them, that they're gonna be showing some interest. Total spot traded volume today is already at about 100 million bucks. Pretty damn good. So I do think that we're kind of in for some more volatility today. And with that said, I would like to wish you well. I would like to wish you also the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest, man. Put a fucking smile on your face, do some trading, and let's get into the last scene right here as I adjust my screens. There we go. And there she is, Bitcoin on the daily. And there's a lot of things to be aware of right now. So we're still holding up above the critical 200 simple moving average right here. That's crawled up all the way above about 9,100 now. And I stay with what I've been saying for the last, week or so, I guess now. It's been quite a while. As long as we're above this region, I am biased to the upside. That also does mean that if we break this region, if we actually close the daily total below it, I will switch my bias. I will close any longs that I have open, which yes, I am still long from about 9,100. And I will likely open a short targeting a move down towards 85, 8,600. Probably a small bounce there, and then I look for continuation down to like the 8,000 to 8,200 region down here. But until we actually break this, like I said, I'm biased to the upside. Momentum oscillators are shaping up to be pretty damn good. We're getting the exact signature that we were looking for on daily Stokes that we spoke about yesterday. Bitcoin going sideways in this region is actually building the momentum back up. So that's a good sign right here. And I would say that if we close anywhere here or higher by end of day, probably does force it back up. But here's what I really want to see to maintain my bullish bias for like today's trading session or the next 48 hours of trading session is I want to see the daily close above the red 10 simple, which is about 9,300. So if we could get that, I imagine that we would certainly we'd very much see some bullish some divergence between these two moving parts on this guy right here. And more importantly, we defend the bullish control zone. As you can see, it's like maintaining this region right now. So that would be indicative that we are ready to actually have the momentous move and let bulls blast through that next major resistance area. So things lining up pretty damn well. Daily RSI coming down and testing the exponential, just as we spoke about over the last week. That was kind of what we were waiting for. Probably, I would likely be looking for a bounce off this region. And again, we did kind of have a falling pizza in here on the higher time frames, but I want to focus on the lower time frames right now. I've been kind of neglecting the lower time frames at the beginning of these videos, and I think that most people are probably more interested in something like this to begin with. So lower time frame range is still very much the same. You can see that we got stopped right at the 94.50-ish region on a 4-hour dildo closing basis last night. Yes, we did get a wick up all the way to the almost 9,700-ish region. Or sorry, how high did we get? Yeah, 9,600-ish region right here. But on a closing basis, again, it did not, we did not get above the critical point that matters. This is why I wait for closes and not for wicks. Sometimes you're not going to get the, all of the move and anything like that. But as a trader, I'd rather trade a little bit of P&L in exchange for more statistical relevancy on the same side of the trade that I'm looking for. So in this case, no extra entry was given. Did take a little bit of profit somewhere right around the 94.50-ish region. So yeah, I did leave some on the table by not holding until 9,600. But at the end of the day, fine. And in the bottom side of this range, still very much the same at 90, or sorry, just let's call it 90.50 or 9,000. It's one and the same essentially. Also, so same thing applies to the upside. If we can break 94.50, I would be looking for another move back up to 97.50 right here, and that would start to really change around the higher time frames, right? More importantly, most notably, I think that the 12 hours really getting things properly right here, and getting rid of all these major moving averages except for two of them. we can see if we can get them off. There we go. And taking everything else off. Bitcoin's kind of just flagging out in this region right here. And if we do close, if we do see those lower time frames confirm above that critical point that we saw, even on the more preliminary range at 94.50 and works its way back up to 97.50ish region, that would put us above, or likely put us above, or give us a chance to close above the 200 simple on the 12-hour right here, which would make me bullish for another big breakout into the mid to low 10,000s. I do think that 10.3 to 10.5 would be about where I'm looking towards. Anywhere around this trend line actually looks good to me, which is the trend line that's been kind of stifling us ever since late June right here, putting in the highs. So getting 1, 2, 3, 4 wicks in there. And I do believe that we likely test in this region once again. Technically speaking, this is for what it's worth right now, it is shaping up to be a bull flag, and you could make a measured move on this. I think that this is a little bit of an aggressive move, but fair enough is fair enough. I do think it's worth talking about. It actually would suggest that if we do break above and close above the 200 simple on the 12-hour dildo time frame, would be looking at a move towards the 11.5 region up here. So create a little bit of a range. Something like this is what I want to mark off right there. Let's just do like a range, because it's never a singular point. It's something more like this. So what I'll do is I'll put in a blue box here, and let's just, we'll keep this one in mind. But again, remember the triggering factor for this is that I need to see a 12-hour dildo close above this region right here. And then of course, there's going to be the ebbs and flows of the market, even if we do take out that level, and nothing's guaranteed. But I would generally be looking for that. As my phone rings once again, but hopefully that's not UPS telling me that, oh, sorry about that, we lost your package on the way and you're fucked. So great. Anyways, so looking at this right here, what do we see on momentum oscillators? We actually do see 12-hour Stokes having a fresh cross up, trend line forming here as well, which I do like. And more importantly, we've rejected from getting into the bearish control zone. Very good, very, very good. So as long as we're kind of maintaining this right here, yes, I am biased to the upside. I'm pretty much biased to the upside on just about all of the medium to high time frames. Lower time frames, obviously, we're coming down right now. But seeing the move that we spoke about play out yesterday, or sorry, maybe not yesterday, but late last night for myself in the Eastern European time zone, we're still just ranging on the lower time frames. Higher time frames, though, I think are fine. Medium time frames like a 12-hour, I think are fine as well. 12-hour RSI, a little bit of problems here, and 12-hour Joule actually. If the 12-hour Joule actually does come down here, that actually would be kind of nasty. But I don't really look at that as a signal, in and of itself. Anyways, more importantly to me, we do see most momentum oscillators suggesting that we do have some more upside here. So that's what I put a lot more weight on. Let me put back on all of these major moving averages right here. And let's see if we're getting, more of a, more of a setup. Thus far within this consolidation, you can see that we do have a pair of high lows, nice, but we're really cutting hairs right here. We also do have a lower high now, don't we, as well? So other than that, probably a little bit more waiting, but I do think that it's relatively reasonable to expect that we do get another potential break in this next 36-hour trading period. Yesterday night was a failed attempt, but I do think that looking at both volume and volatility metrics, that it's likely we get another attempt today. Just speaking of volume right here, we do see that nice trillion off of volume. It's getting quite low, which does tell me that the consolidation is nearly over. Of course, if you ask fucking crypto Twitter or crypto Reddit or even crypto YouTube, which has just the best place to go to for information, right? It's also an erratic statement. I mean, I'm posting on this shit too, so maybe I should just shut the fuck up. But my point is that volume tailing off like this is suggestive of this consolidation coming to maturity. It's neither good nor bad. I mean, this consolidation would have a bias to the upside, of course, at least in my opinion. But typically, what you see on these fucking social media venues is people say volume is low, we're going down, volume too low, and there's also this dumb. Oh my God, there's this fucking moronic idea that says, guys, I really like this shitcoin, just need volume. Great setup. It's like, volume does not imply direction, by the way. It's context dependent, and this is what people don't get by reading fucking Investopedia and just perpetuating this dumb fucking myth because they think that it makes them sound smarter, when in reality it actually kind of is revealing of their lack of experience. Not only that, but volatility is what we really want to be looking at as well, and volatility on the higher time frame is actually still expanding. So as far as the greater trend, it does tell us that we're still expanding. However, lower time frames are going to be absolutely crushed here. Well, they did get crushed yesterday as we looked at, but now they're starting to expand once again. So actually, yeah, good. Okay, so So that does suggest that we do actually have this trending move, likely populate itself relatively soon. I do think, I'd actually kind of collapse that time frame down of 36 hours and say it's more like 12 to 24 hours actually. So yeah, a break outside of 94.50 or below 90.50, if you want to call it, I do think happens likely within the next 24-hour trading period, and that's going to offer up the next multi-$100 move, or technically, if we break to the downside, ultimately probably another at least $1,000 down. If we break to the upside, at least another. I guess my first kind of target area is it's about $1,000 away, and then another 1,000 to the 11.5 areas we just spoke about. So things are lining up there. Speaking of the lower time frames, like the 4 hour, we actually do see momentum also just turning back down once again. Actually, rejection of the bullish control zone right here. So there is certainly downside pressure on this guy. But remember, I'm not really looking for sustained downside or a break of the range until we close a 4 hour dildo at the very, very least below that 90.50ish region. Preferably, I'd want to see like a 12 hour or a daily closing below about 9100, and then I could get on that same sort of same sort of thing and target those moves down to the downside as we spoke about earlier. Let's see what the 3 hours looking like. 3 hour coming all the way down, testing the 55, which has been getting all the lows in this consolidation. So, if I was trading this one right now, I would actually look at this as a potential opportunity, not because it's 100% guaranteed to work out. There's no such thing in trading, but it offers up a nice risk reward profile. I don't have to risk all that much to figure out if this one's going to work or not if I'm using that as my technical analysis edge. Holy shit. Holy shit. That's no crystal ball thinking, motherfucker. I'm signing off now, which is what most people are saying. I understand that it's very sexy and very seductive to talk about like moves. It's like this move is gonna happen just like this. Like, well, no. If you live trading long enough, you will find that to be untrue. But there are some pretty high probability plays. But there's always a probability of the opposite coming to fruition. So that is why managing off of these pivots or having some sort of edge to manage off of, I think is absolutely critical. I don't know any successful trader who doesn't do it like that, who uses technical analysis as their edge. Of course, some guys who are doing high frequency trading or market making or anything like that, they're playing a different game. But looking at the volume signature on the lower time frames as well, suggestive that we are getting we're getting very mature here. Has very, very little of a way to go, and typically what you want to see is something like this. So what you can draw out is something like this right here. And see how that volume kind of trailing off. Once you see a volume bar that's like, back above this region right here, a little bit of an outlier from this territory, and price action moving in whatever direction, that direction is likely to sustain. That's likely going to be the next breakout. So if you do see a volume spike and price action is breaking down, that's your signal that this is actually very, very likely to break down, and vice versa for the upside, which again, I am biased the upside here, and I am, for full disclosure, still long. 2 hour, let's see what's going on here. Riding the 89 should be a song perhaps. Let me get rid of this guy right here. 2 hour Stokes are pointed down. So we actually have 4 hour, 3 hour, and 2 hour all pointed down right now. Let's see if the hourly is agreeing. It is. I suppose there is a legitimate threat of downside here then. I really dislike trading against that sort of a thing. Perhaps we reset these oscillators a little bit and then try give another try to the upside. But let's see. Do we actually have the momentum to break 90.50ish region even on the lower time frame? Well, it's not out of the question. I'll put it that way. Let's see. Historical volatility percentile on the hourly is expanding. Okay, cool. So yes, many things agreeing with each other. We actually had a zero read last night before the move to the upside, so I do like that. But fading that move completely, literally completely, and even more so the next day, it's usually not the best sign, but again, a little bit too early to judge it. And until we actually break one of these ranges, I don't think that it's appropriate to call a direction, call a winner either way. I mean, people who have been trading this right here who are looking for like the big breakout or the big breakdown, I've just been frustrated for over a week now. And that's a terrible use of it's just an absolute terrible use of equity, right? Your equity is tied up in a trade that is not really moving, where you could be trading the range and just the range is probably is certainly tradable. It's like $400 on a closing basis. That's what, about 4 or 5% on a move, as if you catch the bottom and the top. But even 3%, I mean, Jesus Christ, man, there's people in traditional markets who are just like laughing at this because they could make a living just in like a week. They could make a living just in a week. Trading moves like this. However, of course, the liquidity does put a little bit of a stifling factor on that because, you might get the move. I don't know if you're going to get all the contracts that you want though. So that is a limiting factor. But again, just a lot of things kind of lining up with each other. Anyways, I'm going over here to the higher time frames. Let's go check out what the 2 day's doing. How's the 2 day looking? 2 day, did we close last night? I believe we did. Yeah, we did. So we have a new fresh 2 day dildo right here. You can see the 55 is still governing price action as long as we're above there on a 2 day dildo closing basis, which is again that critical like 90, 100-ish level that we see on daily, 12 hour, all the lower time frames as well. I still look at this as some sort of a nice bullish consolidation. Sloppy, but okay. 2 day Stokes still very much up. However, getting tired here. So again, another counterpoint. This is a ticking time bomb for the bulls. This is a little bit of a ticking time bomb for the bulls. They are now, I'd kind of relate it like this. The longer that Bitcoin goes sideways here from this point, the more bearish that I would get. Hesitation after a run like this is not good. By the way, I forgot to tee this up. Let me see if there's no way I'm gonna be able to find this, but or maybe I can. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring it up. I really would like to show this because I think that it is quite important. Just to talk about the just talk about the bullshit of this market. Let's see. Let me pull up my email right here. And where are you? Yes. Okay. There you are. Just 1 second, my friends. I promise that this won't take too much longer. I'm just pulling up a tweet that I alluded. Motherfucker, it's not here. God damn it. Oh well. All right. Well, worst things have happened in this world. So yeah, I guess I'll just reference it. I forget who posted this. I really want to give them credit. I don't really know them myself, but I do think that it's important to give people credit. It was one of the more prominent accounts on Twitter, I believe, posting a link to like the Chinese government statement that came out last night, basically saying that while we do like blockchain and while we are supporting that and while we are going to be putting full resources towards that, do not take this as an endorsement of Bitcoin. We do not like scam currencies. That was quite literally their words, not mine. And I think that what is this shocker? Are you telling me that one of the most authoritarian and oppressive governments in the whole world that puts literally some of their citizens in re-education camps, which is like a euphemism for a concentration camp from the stories that I'm reading, doesn't like a personal autonomous financial system called Bitcoin? My God, so of course, Bitcoin rallies on news that is not even really relevant to it. And, when the counter news comes out last night, what happens? Well, we don't really have any move that happened. I mean, we actually literally went up last night, on a $400 move to 96. So my point is that, hey, these sorts of things, if you are one of those people who thinks that news is relevant, explain that, right? Explain that. You can all, news is a justification tool for people who, it's a justification tool for the retailers who don't know any better. It's used to justify moves in order for the retailers to like keep in and say like, oh, this makes sense. Realize that news and any sort of interpretation of anything is subjective, right? We all have different interpretations of anything based upon our past prior life experiences. Like what's cool in your part of the world might not be so cool in another part of the world. I mean, shit, man, like in some places in Africa or maybe like Asia or something like that, they have like the neck thing where they like, you're considered like super pretty as a girl if you have like these, if you have like a super long neck, which I think is like, I'm not that attracted to that. So, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that we're different and we interpret that as different things, just as an example. Of course, that's a little bit of a crude example. But you get my point. So first, your interpretation of a news event is subjective. Then the way that you're playing out that interpretation is likely wrong as well because it can have multiple different meanings. And then on top of that, the event itself is in some way, how do I explain this? I don't think I have the words to explain it right now. I'll have to think about that one later. I apologize. My speech not so not so good this morning. Even though I did get a good night's sleep. Let's go check out the 3 day. 3-day above all major moving averages. We will be closing this one later tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Again, just kind of flagging out right here. 3-day RSI, I think, is interesting to me just because we did put in one of those beautiful falling pizzas, which has a lot more of a chance in my experience to play out on RSI rather than price action. In fact, I do not play these sorts of things on price action. The only formations that I'll play on price action really are like channels sometimes, and Head and Shoulders actually do have a decent hit rate when it's on the same side of the trend. And triangles are probably my favorite. Triangles are great. Those ones do have the best in cryptocurrency. I think they have the best hit rate for playing out. But yeah, falling pizza right here, breaking to the upside. Having a little bit of a stutter step at the neutral zone, which is fine. You do expect that, but a lot of the time you'll see this, after breakout like that, test at the very least a bullish control zone. So that's kind of what I'm waiting for here. And I'm still kind of looking towards that to happen. You do see, by the way, that that 11,500 target based off of this flag formation is in line with a 382 Fibonacci retracement. Just looking at the fibs right here, we actually do have a nice interplay between them all. Bitcoin basically caught the low around the 618, which was the 3-day 200 exponential moving average. That was kind of my target to the downside. So I was about a couple $100, about a couple $100 off on my target to the downside before getting reversed right here. But that's why we have risk management tools, and that's why 7,800 was very important to me, and changed my bias to look for longs once again. And then say, and then looking at this right here, if you are going to be buying the 618 from a bot and algo standpoint, where's your target typically going to be? Well, the obvious ones are not 0.5, but typically you're typically going to be targeting move back up here towards a 382. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Again, just more things lined up with each other. If we do take the next leap up, and more importantly, it would also be a change of behavior just for Bitcoin to close a 3-day dildo or a weekly dildo above this trend line right here, coming in right around what is this 9,600 right here. So this was the lows of this consolidation that we played out during the end of summer, and thus far we're still living below it, not only on a 3-day but also on a weekly basis. And I want to point this one out to all the people in the technical analysis program. That's if you're familiar with the liquidity pools module, this might be a good time to what's it called? Go and review that one, as this was a massive case study of that video. So I would say that this is just, it's one of those things. Keep it in mind, because going forwards here at that 11.5 level, this is absolutely critical for me. If Bitcoin can get above 11.5 on a weekly closing basis, nothing less than a weekly closing basis, by the way, it needs to be on a weekly or higher. I would get massively bullish for a move, that likely finds its way to like 16,000, 17,000-ish region, and likely beyond. I mean, it also agrees with the volume profile. You can see that the last of this semi-higher value nodes right here is right at that 11.5 pivot, and above there, it's Rip City, really, in the way that I look at it. This volume action right here is nothing compared to what we were dealing with, especially down here when Bitcoin was moving slow as fuck. Right here where Bitcoin was relatively slow. Right here where Bitcoin was fast but relatively slow again, and then right here where Bitcoin was moving fast as fuck, but again just relatively slow to what you'd imagine this would do right here. So that still is the major area from a long-term perspective. And from the more interim, you do see that this horizontal right here coming in from our April-May highs at around 9,600 on a weekly closing basis, still very much relevant, and that is providing the impetus for the rejection thus far. In fact, I'd even go as far as saying that the way that we break this next weekly from the prior doji dildo, or if you want to call this doji dildo, if you want to call it spinning, you could certainly do so as well. I would say is likely going to be the next big direction as well. If we take the low side of it at 89.82 spot 1 and check your exchange, then yeah, I would be looking for the downside to initiate, as we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Those targets would be essentially what I'd be trading for. I would have to take a little bit of a loss on my long position though, which makes me feel bad. I mean, it is what it is. And if we took out the top side of it, which is actually quite high at 99.50-ish region, then I would be looking for a move, at the very least to about 10.5, and probably above that. Probably does make a run for that 11.5 region as well over time. But while we are here, the big thing for me is the weekly Stokes. They are crossing up and onwards and getting above the critical zone. This is the same signature that has precipitated some pretty massive rallies, even in counter trend markets in the past. Last couple times that we have an example of this were, December 2018 and then February 2019. So that was this low right here, the ultimate low of this market cycle thus far. Then the higher low right here. And that moved Bitcoin all the way from 35 to 13,000, 13,500, almost 14,000. And the times before that, even in a bear market, these guys right here, April and July rally, that was this rally right here. This was a bear market rally of 50%. I mean, that's quite impressive. And another 43% rally right here. I mean, so even if Bitcoin were bearish, that would be good enough for me to at the very least give it a go, or at least maintain my bias in that direction. Other than that, did we ship over the 3-day enough? 3-day Stokes up as well. More importantly, the 3-day Stokes actually did break this trend line right here, multiple ticks ago actually, so it's not really too relevant anymore. But fair enough. Anyways, what else we want to talk about? Monthly and all that good stuff, I don't think is going to be within the relevancy of this video. If you want the more long-term analysis on Bitcoin, a more in-depth long-term analysis, definitely go check out the video that I uploaded this Sunday in the playlist on my YouTube channel titled long-term analysis. Anyways, what else do we have? What else do we have here? How long have I been talking? God damn, 35 minutes. Fucking hell. Let's go check out all the other things that we typically check out. Bitcoin dominance. I think it's still very appropriate to be focusing on the higher timeframes here, the weekly. This is starting to be a little bit more of a rejection now, isn't it? But I still would not call it a rejection until we actually close a weekly delta below the 200 simple, which is at the 69.35 region. Even just taking out last week's low at 69.25. Would make me quite bearish on this actually, and probably target to move down a little bit below 68%. So alts actually do have a chance here, but I'd still kind of be biased towards this, giving another try to the upside. Again, we are maintaining this at on a closing basis, and it's a little bit too early to judge it. Looking at it daily, it does look more droopy though. To be fair, it does look like one's come down to 69. In fact, if I was just looking at the daily, I'd have to be a little more on the bearish side. And the more that I look at this now, it's was this falling pizza breakout failed? Well, this is why actually we kind of did hit the target already, so fair enough. I mean, it's just another lower high now, isn't it, as well? Yeah. Lower timeframes are more bearish. Higher timeframes still have some room to go. But this actually does look like it wants to curl down. So, I do have to still be bullish on it just because of the weekly, but I'm glad to not be trading alts because this does look like it wants to come down. Let's go look at what Cardano is doing to kind of get a general gauge of what the majority of shitcoins are doing. It's kind of just flattening out here. So this is starting to look a little bit more like accumulation on the lows, to be fair, but I would want to see this play out for a more prolonged period. I do think that we're probably going to get a run towards the 21 on the weekly at some point, but I'd imagine that the first test up to it is going to likely end up something like this, where it's a rejection. But if Cardano can go flat here for the next few months, that would be indicative of accumulation. And I would, while I'm not looking to trade any of these things, if there is going to be an alt season, I'd be looking for it, at some point after that. Looking at the weekly though, nothing of particular interest on this. Weekly RSI is okay. Weekly Stokes are good. What about daily? Daily's structure is not good. Historical volatility percentile is very flat right now, so we are gearing up for a move. Daily Jewel, given a signal right here. Now, this is not in the zones that I like to take signals, so I would not consider this one myself, but this one probably does actually play out a little bit. But again, I would not consider a signal myself, but if we had this happening in this area down here, I'd say, holy shit, man. Maybe I should trade some alts for a little bit, because these things do fly when they want to fly. Daily Stokes looking like they're going to reverse themselves as well, and Jesus, this is very frustrating. That'd be very frustrating as a trader. But overall, I'm not, it looks to me like it's kind of in a trading range. We're not really, it doesn't look like we're still trending to the downside, but we're also not reversing or anything like that. Major area to the upside would be about 525. No reason to be at all bullish on this thing until it gets back above there. Even that, it still has a long ways to go. I mean, personally speaking, I want to see it get above maybe the 1,000 Satoshi marker. And really not appropriate to be further bearish until it breaks down below about 400 Satoshis for right now. trendless sideways, I'd say, and is starting to show some what's it called, characteristics of accumulation. So I'm curious what some of the other alts versus Bitcoin do look like. Let's see what Litecoin looks like. Which Litecoin had a pretty good move last night. The problem with Litecoin on the lows here is that we actually are, as it stands, pretty much creating what could be a descending triangle. So I'm not certain that this one's ready just yet. Did get a good close on the daily yesterday, but it has so much work to do to really make you a believer, or me a believer, that it's hard to judge it off of just, you can't just judge off of one move like that, really. But we are seeing a lot of alts starting to pick themselves up a little bit. Let's see if we have any sort of bullish evidence on the weekly. We do. Or do we? Yes, we do. Yeah, okay. You know what? I do think that there's some upside here. Probably back up to 70,000 or 700,000. Let's see what Mr. Buterol is doing. Where are you, Mr. Buterol? You fuckface. There you are. Sorry, you beautiful unicorn Vitalik guy, whatever. Let's see, what are we doing here? Is it trying to put in a low, or is it going to come back here and try double bottom? I don't have a strong opinion on this. Is very sloppy action. I'm not a fan of this action, but do we have a higher low here? No, not really. This one's too sloppy for me. I don't think I have a good idea on this one. I'd defer to the general market. I'm just glad to not be trading shitcoins or altcoins or whatever the fuck you call them. Total market cap looks more or less like Bitcoin chart. I do believe that we have a daily total golden cross. Yep, we do have it confirmed as of yesterday. But same thing here, you got the 200 simple still governing price action to the upside, but more and more things switching up to a bullish posturing. I'd say with another daily closing above the about 240 billion marker, I'd be looking for this to give a legitimate try for a breakout to the upside. We got the same flag formation here as well. I don't really care all that much about total market cap, but during slow times I will look at it, and that would be suggesting that we do have play a much move, relatively similar to what we saw on spot price action between what would be like 11.5 on this little hump right here, and then the $300 billion market right there. Interesting nonetheless. Let's go take a look at GBTC, which I had neglected yesterday, but then again, it hadn't been trading during the weekend, so all good. GBTC testing up towards the breakdown area of late September. So that would be akin to like the $9,700 region that we saw on Bitcoin around that time. So, and actually you got a decent close around here. You could also kind of consider this another retest of this ascending trend line right here. It's getting pretty damn close, pretty much in line with this guy. So, probably, a little bit of a pullback is warranted off that region, very, very likely. But today, I do think that we're going to give a legitimate shot to break it, perhaps. If not, well, what do we morph into? The rising wedge, which again, I don't put all that much weight on. But it does look like we probably at the very least trade back down to this like 1160 region right here, and then perhaps give another try to the upside. What else do we want to look at? Is anything? Oh yeah. Let's go check out CMEs right now. What the fuck is this, man? So now I look like a complete fucking moron because I've been saying, I'd rather just wait for a legitimate exchange to offer up Bitcoin, trading like CMEs or BACT or something like that. Well, I also don't really want to be dealing with like, what the fuck is this, man? I don't know if this is a bad print or if this is just illiquid markets, but this is concerning. Looks like, look how many traded down here. Let's see volume. Let's go down to a 5 minute and see what traded. Okay, we have 516 trading on this 5 minute dildo right here, which would imply what I think that each contract on CME is worth 5 Bitcoin. So, well, that would be like 2,500 Bitcoin trading right there, which is I don't know, like 25 million maybe. So that's actually a significant amount trading on this region right here. I don't know what's going on with this one. I don't. It sucks since since I'm no longer registered as a as a market maker in traditional markets. I no longer get like the emails from CME Group and like the insider emails from CME Group. And before when I was getting them, there'd always be like an explanation when this shit was happening, or they'd say like, or you'd get like the plethora of emails saying that Bitcoin trading halted on on CMEs for moving more than 5% in 5 minutes. Like, you're going to have to adjust that rule if you want to play this game with the crypto degenerate gamblers, because you're just going to be halted the whole fucking day. If you're not familiar with traditional markets, there's a rule that states, or not that states, there's a rule with trading that if the asset trades more than 5% in 5 minutes, it will be halted for 5 minutes. The reason that they do that is so that people don't freak the fuck out, because a 5% move in traditional markets is like, it's like significant, very significant. So a stark contrast from what we see in on a regular Tuesday in cryptocurrency land. Anyways, I think I've pretty much said everything that I want to say. For the most part, things are mostly the same. I do think that we are getting ready for a break either way here. And I do think that it happens probably in this next 24-hour trading period. Very little room for this to go. You can kind of almost you can actually gauge this a little bit better by making this trend line right here and just seeing where does it get like so small that you can barely see it, and then add it up with the date. And this would suggest no later than perhaps. I'd say no later than perhaps like the 11th or 12th of this month. So that would be at most another week within this region. I think that we break it somewhere right around here, which is within striking distance. We did get a move last night, but we didn't break the range, so it doesn't, it's as far as like the big trade, I don't think it's there just yet. I do think that it still kind of stares us in the face. So no real rush to get into position, but things shaping up here. So I think I'm going to be signing off with that. Hopefully my equipment comes a little bit later today. If I can set that up by tonight, then tomorrow we can live stream once again, which I'm quite excited about. And I really want to get people's opinions on this, because I'm now in the Eurozone. I really like live streaming in the morning, and I'm curious. I'm curious if that would be good for people. I know that it would be kind of unreasonable for the people in America. It's going to be like, maybe if you're Pacific time zone, it's going to be like 10 p.m. or 9 or 10 p.m. And if you're in Eastern, then that would be like, literally midnight to 1. Then again, we do have a lot of crypto zombies here. And then I'd probably upload like a shorter video later on in the day. So it would be during like the time that I was doing in Chicago, or I could keep the live streams the same time as I was in Chicago as well. I'm curious to hear what people's thoughts are on that. If we can get this fucking app out, then we'll actually have a polling section for that. So it'll be used for market sentiment, and then perhaps something like this as well would actually be incredibly useful for myself. So with that said, Krown signing off here. Wishing you well, as always, from a very much dark and cold 0 degrees Celsius Helsinki, Finland. Take care, and until next time.